Of course, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X/S will be backwards compatible. Microsoft's console at least has a better offer for backwards compatible versus Sony, but that's not really what this video is all about, because this one is another MmGS Vlog Rewind episode number 7. And for this one, it's all about my thoughts on backwards compatibility during the 8th generation console. So I kind of gave my thoughts about the whole backwards compatibility on that video when the PS4 and the Xbox One finally was released on 2013. Of course, the gist of it is PS4 did not have backwards compatible whatsoever because the architect from the PS4 versus the PS3 were just way different, to a point that it was going to cost very high. Reason why the PS3 at launch was $600 beside the cell processor gimmick is that they also put in a PS2 architect, and it runs way different than the PS3, unfortunately. So there was some kerbuckle there. So with the PS4, they just said, yeah, we're not going to make it backwards compatible, but in lieu, they decided to put in PlayStation Now, which is their version of PlayStation Netflix, its own self-subscription service, and mostly has PS3 games. Can you transfer files? I have no idea because I never really tried it, but that is kind of close to your backwards compatibility for the PS4 with the PS3. While in the Xbox One in the beginning, well, they didn't have any, and you got to give credit to Don Matrix for doing that because he had a different perspective when it comes to backwards compatibility. But of course, when Phil Spencer took over via update, of course, emulator, the Xbox One was finally backwards compatible, not only with the 360 games, but also with the original Xbox. Yeah, the 360 was or is backwards compatible, but it was only selective, because what it does is emulating the game. It was the same goes with the Xbox One. You put in the game, and it reads, and then it probably says, oh, well, you have this game, you can play it. We'll probably download the download version. I mean, the technology is kind of convoluted to some extent, but that's what it is. It's running on emulator, but the bottom line is it is backwards compatible, and that's a key thing. And of course, now with the 9th generation, no difference there. So in this rewind, I'm going to give my thoughts on the history of backwards compatibility of older console. Believe it or not, that the older one from the 8-bit era, the 16-bit era, the N64, GameCube, there were some talks of backwards compatibility. Some of them were rumors and some of them were not. So here's my thoughts on backwards compatibility in 2014. Hello guys, NautoAisDx here once again, and this is going to be a vlog giving my opinion about backwards compatibility. Yes, the old topic about new console having backwards feature. And why am I talking about this? Well, in GameStop, there was a recent article that I read. Excellent article, highly recommended for anyone who really is interested with backwards compatibility. And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, what's backwards compatibility? It's basically when you have a new system that can play last generation of game. So basically, such as the PlayStation 2 can play PlayStation 1 game, the PlayStation 3 used to can play PS2 and PS1 game, not anymore the newer one, Xbox 360 to some extent, and the Wii and the Wii U can play last generation games. Especially the GBA can play Game Boy games, and the DS with the GBA game, and the 3DS with the DS games. So that's what's backwards compatibility. And I already talked about this before, how important it is. So I want to basically add more about this. Why I also think that it's important that systems should have backwards compatibility, and I know there is a downside why they kind of hesitate to do it. So I'll explain that. First of all, should backwards compatibility in any console or portable gaming system a industry standard, and they should do it? In my opinion, yes, they should. And I mean, heck, there have been older systems since the Atari days And the Sega Genesis, they all, believe it or not, there was actually backwards compatibility. And the reason for it is to basically justify your last generation investment. You just don't, I bought a lot of these games, now I can't play with my new system. I still have to hook up my old system. And I'll explain it later on why that's important. And I just say that if you have a TV and doesn't have a lot of connection, that's a problem. And another video that I'm going to link here that is very entertaining is, believe it or not, Mike Matei's video on his gaming setup. Yes, if you've seen that one, it is impressive. Yeah, it's not really efficient, but oh my gosh, hey, if it works, it works. But all I can say is that his electric bill's probably not going to be happy. Wow. But to Mike Matei, kudos to you. That is actually awesome what you did there. I mean, if you're doing that for work reason, then more, that's prop to you. But that is actually awesome. I know it's not efficient, and that's probably going to cost a lot of electricity. But hey, you got to do what you got to do there. That's actually a good video there. That's actually insane. Props to Mike Matei for doing it, because even I can't do that. No siree, Bob. Remember, if I can't do it on a certain way, it'll be a live feed, then a direct feed. Wink, wink. Alright, back to the topic about backwards compatibility. Yeah, like I said, the reason it's good is to justify your last investment so you can play at least one generation down. That's right. But lately, some of the console, they got rid of it. And really, the main reason why is cost. That's it. Ever wonder why the PS3 cost $600 in the beginning? Because not only you're buying a PS3, you're also buying a PS2 at the same time. Because the problem is the architect is way so different, and by putting that architect on the newer system, it's basically you're putting two consoles in one box. I mean, you should thinking, well, should it cost less or to none? Well, the problem is that's not necessarily true. That's what Ken Kuragi wanted with the PS3. He wanted all the backwards compatibility, but he wanted to be $400. They can't do it. No, that's the problem. And they even said it that for every PS3 they sold, they were losing $200 because I guess what happened was Ken Kuragi didn't really follow through, or he didn't think of it further. He just said, oh, it's cool to have backwards compatibility, which is I agree. But doing the hardware, that's why it costs a lot of money. It's the same goes with the 360. And it's not really hardware compatible. It's more of an emulation. You put a disc in, and then if the game is qualified, then you can play it. That's really it. I think that's a much better, that's like a better approach. But again, like I said, the problem really is that one also that costs a lot of money. That's why, because in the perspective of business, they want, if you're buying a PS4 or let's just say a PS3 or 360, they want you to buy those games, not past game. If you have those past games, they just get the previous gen. Again, that's more money. That's really it. But to some extent, it is an architect problem why they can't always do it without raising the cost. And of course, you know what happened with the PS3. It cost a lot of money. People said, well, this is BS. I mean, there are certain solutions, like in the 360, like they said, emulation, but that still costs them a lot of money. PlayStation now, except unfortunately, if you have the game, you double dip. That's the BS part. You kind of double dip that. Oh, well, just because you have the game doesn't mean, though, if you want to buy the game, you gotta buy it again. So, I mean, that's not cool. Double dipping, not cool. So, it is unfortunate that people are trying to erase back compatibility, but I think that should be an industry standard, and hopefully in the future is a way. Like, one of my suggestions I always say is, if you're gonna do a hardware way, make an add-on. That's my opinion. Make an add-on hardware, plug it into the system like a USB or something, and again, it's optional. So if you don't like back compatibility, you don't have to pay for it. If some people do, buy that extra add-on, and there you go. I mean, that's an easy one. Second one is basically emulator, but that also costs a lot of money. Yeah, so that's also a problem. I mean, heck, look at the Wii U. The reason why also, to some extent, the prices in the beginning wasn't the right price, $350 for the deluxe and $300 for the basic, because partially is you're paying for the Wii. Because according to them also, the Wii architect is different to the Wii U, and by putting in that also raises the price a bit. That's also one of the biggest problems.
I mean, of course, the Wii U has a different, also other history why it's problematic. But I mean, in the perspective of the architect in the design, that's also probably costing them money just to put in the Wii features on the Wii U. But here's the question: is it something new, backwards compatibility, or is this an old thing? And the answer to that one is this has been old, believe it or not. When Atari came, when the new, well, for the first model Atari, I think the 2600. And then when the Atari 52 came out, the 5200, yeah, it was backwards compatible with the 2600. And then there was another one that's the 7200 Atari, and now it's compatible with the 52 and the 26. So Atari, yeah, they did backwards compatibility. I think even the Commodore also was compatible with the Atari. I saw it in the AVGN video about it, so. But yeah, I mean, Atari was backwards compatible. So what about Sega? Well, believe it or not, the Sega Genesis was backwards compatible with the Sega Master. All you have to do, and this is what I'm talking about, an add-on, there was a peripheral called the Master Converter. All you have to do is that you have to put that, basically it's a big thing, it's a Genesis slot, you put it on the Genesis, and then on top, you put your Sega Master, the Sega Master cartridge, and you can play Sega Master games. And believe it or not, also, there's this thing called the SG-1000, which I did a showcase video on that one. And believe it or not, the Sega Master is actually compatible with the SG-1000. And I think because the SG-1000 is a card thing, you just put it in the card slot, there you go, you can play SG-1000 game. And there was even a rumor, excuse me, that Super Nintendo was going to be backwards compatible with the N64. Because I used to remember in the past when I asked my mom when I was young, I think I was 13 when I finally got my Super Nintendo. And one of the first questions my mom always asked was, oh, is it backwards compatible with the Nintendo? And of course, they didn't do it, and they just said no, but I can still play my NES games. And that's a big concern, because one of the biggest concerns about with parents is, the minute I buy your system, so what are you going to do with the old system? That's true. I mean, it is unfortunate, but in the perspective of business, they want you to throw away your old system so you can play the new system, so you give them more money. But as a consumer, you want them to invest in your old games, why should I throw them away? And so, at one point, they were considering the Super Nintendo to be backwards compatible with Nintendo games, but their solution was that if you're using an RF switch, yes, a coaxial to connect the back of your SD TV, yes, I'm sounding so flipping like a grandpa here right now, is that you can connect the other one, you can connect it in the back, so you can only just one connection to your TV, so you can save on coaxial. But if you're using a AV cable, then that's a different story. Excuse me, but yeah, at one point, it was supposed to be backwards compatible, but then they opted out because they said it was going to cost a lot of money. And that was the same thing with the Super Nintendo at one point. It was also, there was a rumor there was a plan for the N64, not only compatible with the Virtual Boy, there was a rumor about that, but to also play Super Nintendo games and Nintendo on the N64 by using, again, like what the Genesis had, the Master Converter, like some sort of add-on. But again, same deal, they opted out. I mean, heck, you can't even play Game Boy games on the N64, even you have the transfer pack, but it's only useful for certain games. Well, whatever, it is what it is for the N64. I mean, and well, that's what it was. Well, what about the Sega Saturn? Well, unfortunately, they got rid of the backwards compatibility with the Sega Saturn. That wasn't unfortunate. Oh, by the way, those add-ons, those are Genesis, and I heard there was supposed to be a Genesis Neptune or something that never came out. So I'm not really knowledge of the Sega system, but there was also a rumor that the Sega Saturn was supposed to be backwards compatibility. That's why, if you notice, there's a cartridge in the back for the Sega Saturn, like a RAM thing. And yep, they just opted out. And the same goes with the Dreamcast. I don't think you can play Sega CD games or Sega Saturn games, CD Saturn or whatever. They just opted out. because again, it was cost. But the same goes with Nintendo. The only time they finally decided, I mean, heck, the GameCube, at one point, Nintendo made a survey say, would you want to see N64 game able to play on the GameCube? And they said, well, how do you do it? Well, again, the same deal. It was going to be a peripheral. They had like this drawing idea of the prototype for the N64 peripheral, but push came to show what happened is that, again, they opted out, just said, forget it. GameCube wasn't selling that much, let's just forget it. And then came the Wii. Not only was backwards compatible with the GameCube, but also the introduction of the Virtual Console, which is what PlayStation now is. Unfortunately, again, you double dip. If you have the game, you can't use that cartridge just to transfer the data, like an emulator data. I wish there was like some sort of like device, like I guess you call it emulator device or whatever, to transfer the data from your cartridge to a virtual console save file or something. But maybe technology was too early, and that's something hard to do because heck, even the PlayStation download, PlayStation 1 Classic, they're not compatible with the CD version, which is unfortunate. Like, really, you dropped the ball there? Hey. Oh boy. So again, it is unfortunately like something they got rid of backwards compatibility. So the system, like I said, the Wii did it. The Wii U, of course, they did it. I mean, heck, believe it or not, their Nintendo handheld console or handheld, yeah, they were backwards compatible for one generation down. Heck, even the PlayStation Vita and Vita TV. The only downside is, I think the Crash and Spyro game you can't play on the Vita, which is I have no idea why. And if you have the game of MUD, then you're out of luck. They did have a program to transfer it to make it digital. They did not bring it in America due to the fact they said that, one, nobody's going to use it, and two, because you're double dipping to some extent because you have to charge them for it, which I think that PS should have been free. And like people including made a suggestion that have a special add-on for the Vita, like a connection, like a USB connection. Just put it up there, like a little mini UMD player for the Vita. And they say, yeah, well, we're thinking about it, but really, again, because in the perspective of business, backwards compatibility is bad because that's money being thrown away. Why are you buying a new console to play old games? Why not just keep your old games? Yeah, that's kind of true. That's why they got rid of it. I mean, the PS3, look what happened. It was failure at price because they couldn't lower the price with the PS3, even with the able to play PS2 game. Look what happened. So something that is the good side and downside about backwards compatibility. And another good thing about backwards compatibility is, like I said, with the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo to some extent, is you can save on connection, less conveniency. You don't want to end up with Mike Matei's like his game room or his game set that you're gonna pay a lot of electricity for it. You want to be more convenient. One console to play all system. Everybody wants that, but again, that's not gonna happen. Like one Sony console, one Microsoft console, one Nintendo console. That's it. I mean, I have my Wii U and I play Wii games. But for the PS3, for the PS4 and the Xbox One, I have to connect the PS3 and the 360, and I had to buy like HDMI switch box just for it. It's better than nothing, but like I said, convenience is the key word, and to justify all investment, so they'll support you more. That's the thing, and I don't know, man. I wish maybe in the future there is gonna be like either, like I say, they fix PlayStation now or emulation, or better yet, my version have an add-on. Just put it like a USB or something. Has its own power to some extent. Save on yeah, but maybe not even that one. But saves on HDMI and socket. That's what I'm saying. Well, there you have it. That's my thoughts on backwards compatibility. Like I said, I wish it's an industry standard, but I know for the perspective business, it's not really beneficial for them. So, but we'll see what happens in the long run, especially E3 2015 come. Maybe there is some new feature in the PS4, Xbox One, Wii U. we'll see. Oh, by the way, yes, I want to give my thoughts on Don Matrix on his comment on backwards compatibility, saying that if you like backwards compatibility, you're backwards. All I can really say to Don Matrix about it is he's a douche. Yes, he's a jerk. He's a douche for saying it. What a douchebag. Thank goodness the guy doesn't work for Microsoft anymore. And I just heard he screwed Zynga also. I got nothing else to say. I think that's really stupid to say that. Don't you agree? Alright, well, thanks for listening.